Hey everyone, I had a couple of requests for this image, which was made with the Sony A9. It had the 90mm macro on it, as well as the OMNI filters, specifically the one that is smooth on one side and a little bit curved on the other, but mostly it's a smooth glass optic. I don't know what the actual name of it is, but it creates this kind of streaky blur. So it was on my lens, and it was probably in the upper right quadrant of the lens when it was tilted vertical. So it was probably situated kind of this way on the lens, and then the light came through and streaked out of it. Anyway, so this was the straight out of the camera image, and I went through and I had to go to see which ones were in focus. With eye autofocus, it worked great even through the glass, so that was kind of cool. And this is the final here, and it's edited quite a bit, but this was the before and this was the after. So what I thought I would do is, instead of editing this one exactly, I was going to just edit one that was from the same series and try to match them. I can't always remember what I did, so I may not get it exactly perfect, but you can get the general idea. All right, so I went through, and this was a potential one. I had a fan at the floor, so it was blowing her hair up. So this one was a potential one, and then here were a couple other ones. I kind of liked this one with her looking down. It takes a bit for it to load to snap into focus, but I kind of wanted to make sure, and I like this one with the hair blowing as well. I think I'm going to do this one though because it has her eyes in it, and then you can see how I edit the portrait before, because that one had eyeballs in it. Where she wasn't looking away. So we're going to do this one. It has a little bit of lighter striations of the blur with the OMNI optic, but it's pretty cool. So this is the straight out of the camera. I didn't really do anything to this at all, and I'm not going to do much to it because it actually looks pretty good to me. What I will do is just double check the histogram. I see that I have some clipping down here, so I might open up my blacks a little bit. And the reason I do that isn't because there's anything wrong with this image. The reason I do it is because later on I know I want to add a lot of contrast, and to add contrast on top of something that's already clipped can be problematic. So I'm going to open the shadows up a little bit and the blacks to move that histogram over. It's probably going to go back to being clipped when I'm done, but this just gives me latitude to maneuver. I'm going to do everything in Photoshop and plugins from here on out. So you can see actually up in this upper corner, let me go to 1:1, this right here, let me move it, is the actual optic, or not optic, I keep calling it an optic, is the glass on a stick with the smooth side. That is it right there. So that is it physically in the frame. All right, so let's take it over to Photoshop. And I think I have to cough, so I'm going to pause this a second while it's going. Good thing I paused it, or I would have coughed your poor little ears off. All right, so this is the image again over here in Photoshop, and I'm going to use Command J to just duplicate the copy here. I just want a copy of the image. So you can also drag the background layer down to this little icon, and it will make a duplicate layer as well. Oh, cool. All right, so the first thing I want to do is use Luminar. So I'm going to go up to Filter, which is off the screen, and go down to Skylum Software and Luminar 4. This is my new favorite editing software. It's just really, really good. I love it so much. There's a lot about it that I love. And realistically, the reason I love it is because I have felt a need to use it on almost every image, which is not usually how I feel about it. Anything. Usually I don't use plugins that often. I mean, I do, but it's a variety. I'll use this one day and that one another day. This one I seem to pull out every day, so that's kind of neat. It shows they have a really versatile product. All right, so they have similar things to Lightroom over here under Light. That will look familiar. I don't need any of that right now. What I'm going to do is go over to the face first, which is the AI Skin Enhancer. I'm going to have defects removed there by hitting that, and then I do the slider, and you can see here that it just removes all of the skin imperfections, pretty much everything, while still maintaining, you know, somewhat decent texture in the skin, which is pretty amazing. And you can edit the mask here. I'm going to use the brush tool and flip to erase because I want to make sure that it's not happening, this part of it isn't happening to her eyes, because they seemed like they got a little bit soft. So I'm using here's the mask here, and I'm just removing the smoothing skin effect from her eyeballs. Then I can go down to Portrait Enhancer. They have this face light thing which brightens her up a little bit, which I like. No red eye to speak of. I can make her eyes whiter, enhances the white of the eye. Eye Enhancer, I think that's kind of a dodge and burn for the iris, is what it appears to me. Get rid of the dark circles from her staying up too late at night. And this one's kind of fun. She likes it when I enlarge her eyes, just to show you how goofy it can be. It can make those doll-like eyes. I wouldn't necessarily go like that. But there is something, when you're doing a book cover type image, you know, this is kind of a fun thing you might want to play with. Her eyebrows are awesome, but they do have eyebrow enhance. It just darkens them up a little bit. Can increase lip saturation, lip redness, darken the lips a little bit, and there's no teeth here, so we don't need to worry about that. Okay, and it's not quite catching her whole lip there, so I can edit the mask, and then I can paint it on. This will make it go away, and I can paint it on where I want. Like that. It's kind of, I don't know, that one's not working as well, so I might take the redness down. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it misses, but for the most part it's a major hit. It usually works really well. I think I screwed that one up somehow. I am going to edit the mask here. Let me reset this. I've managed to screw it up. Let me reset face light, eye whitening, eye enhancer, enlarge the eyes a little bit, eyebrow improve, maybe lip saturation a little bit, and lip redness. There we go. What I did was I took the mask and I inverted it and made this black, so I would have had to paint it over all the areas, and that would have been time consuming, so it was faster to just redo it. And then going down to, let's see here. I like the Orton effect. I don't always use this one, but it just kind of intensifies the whole glow factor, which I think is pretty. I'm going to go back up to this painter palette and go to glow. That's one of my favorites. I love the glow. It just let me go down to soft focus. It really intensifies the contrast while still maintaining the texture. Pretty cool. Now it needs a little bit of dehaze, so let's go back up to the main Essentials palette and go to, oh, maybe it's, let's see, I think it's under Landscape Enhancer is the dehaze. And you can see that that starts to bring out the shapes here a little bit more. All right. So that's looking pretty good. Now I just need to do some final toning to it. And so I'm going to hit apply, and that's going to take it back over to Photoshop where I can add another filter, which is alien skin. But the reason I like Luminar for is it has those really quick adjustments for face and skin. It removes pimples and things without you having to go in with a separate brush, which is just a miraculous thing to me. And then it also has some really fun things for when I do the little houses that I edit with windows and all of that. You can add textures and swap out the backdrop, the background, the sky so quickly in Luminar. It's faster than Photoshop, and I really love it. So here's the before and here's the after with Luminar. A big difference that I can tell. I really like it a lot. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can see the face. That's without, you see, you just have, you know, teenageness. Not that I don't have it at 40ness up here with my own problems, but pretty fast. And then we're going to do Command J again to make another copy, filter, alien skin, and exposure X4, which is the last version that I have. All right, and so this is the last filter that I used, which is, let's see what it is here. Kodachrome 35, 1936 to 1962, no border. Okay, so it's a preset I had made, but it's the Kodachrome 35 millimeter, which is something I love a lot. So I'm going to keep this just like it is. It's 100%, and this is the before and after. It just darkens it, really amps it up. You don't have to do it at full opacity either. I could do it at 50%. I just like the drama of it. And like I said before, I knew I would be probably clipping those shadows later. But you can also add things like textures at this point as well. They have texture overlays. If I had textures from, say, Jessica Drawson or ones that I made myself, I could add them here too. Also add them in Photoshop, also add them in Luminar. It's a multifaceted potential there for textures. But I'm going to hit apply so that you can see what this looks like. And then I think I might take the previous edit back over to Alien Skin to show you maybe some other options that I possibly could pick. The reason I picked this one is because Alien Skin remembers the last edit I did on this computer, and so I know that this is the one that I put on the previous edit over in Lightroom. But, so this is before and after. This is Luminar. Let's go back. So that's original. This is Luminar, and then this is Alien Skin. So if I take this off, and let's just go back to the Luminar edit, go to Filter, Alien Skin, Exposure X4, and look at some other options that we have. So just flipping through, you can see that there's some that are more matte. My favorite section is, let's find my favorite section here, is the Color Films Vintage. There are a lot of really fun effects, and all of these can be customized. This is Kodachrome 35 Brighter, Kodachrome 35 Faded Creamy Bright. This one here, let's see, where is my favorite? This one right here with the yellow star is the Kodachrome Old, and that's the one I use the most, but I usually modify it because it's a bit too dramatic. I pull it back a little bit, but I really like that dramatic edit. So anyway, that's my favorite section. There's very few in Color Films Vintage that I don't love. You know, and you can just play. They've got textures you can add. And then also I really like the Polaroids. Where are those? Probably this section here, Color Films Polaroid often has a lot of pretty ones. And then you can just save the presets that you like for yourself. I'm going to discard these changes and put that back. So now I can bring this back to Lightroom, Command S, and it's saving it down here. So we'll go back to Lightroom, and in a second it will show us the final. All right, so that is that one that we just did. I'm going to label it 5 so I can find it again. And the previous one that I edited is right here. So this is the one that I did first with the apple. And where did it go? That is the one. Let me see if I can find them both here. All right, so that is the first one, and this is the last one. Now, it's not quite done. This one needs a little bit of something. So what I would do would be to grab the brush and probably zero this out by double-clicking on Effect, raise the highlights, and then I'm going to just go over the little striations here, maybe with some dehaze as well, or clarity. I'm not sure. It might be texture, might be a good one. But what I'm trying to do is amp up the view of this, and I might have to erase it off of her face a little bit because we don't necessarily want it on her face. So it is a little bit of a playing game here to get it to the striations of the blur to work well, and I might crop this in a little bit. And then I could always clone this out a little bit here in Photoshop. I don't think I'm going to at this time. I think I'm just going to leave it. But I can also take the brush, again, zero it out, up the texture, and go over her outfit, maybe up the whites a little bit, which helps to bring out that texture of her clothing. Anyway, I would continue to play just to bring the histograms kind of into line with each other. You can see this one, the histogram looks like this. The light is, or it's clipping a little bit in the corner, but not much else, not anywhere else. And then this one is looking virtually the same, except maybe a little bit of highlights need to go up a bit. Maybe my highlights need to go up a little bit. But there you go. That is how I edited it using Luminar, Alien Skin, and Lightroom and Photoshop. It sounds like a lot, but it's really not. When I do it myself, it takes far less time. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.